And a warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Sincere apologies there for getting that one started a little later than usual. Didn't have that one set up as it should have been, but we are here. We are back for round number 9 of the RaceKraft V8 Vets Championship in this 20th season here at Road Atlanta. Daniel Yeaman and Dean Hunt on the microphone for this one here now. And we were just going through the grid for this race here tonight, as we've got a couple of minutes left on the grid. So it's going to be a bit of a speed run through for this one here, Dean. And we'll basically race through the top as fast as we can, basically flick them up on screen for everyone here with us now that we're actually where we should be. So yeah, race through your top 10 here real quick as they have transitioned into the race section here. So your top 10, McNamara, Grundle, Gamble, Van der Kraan, Whiting, Ladder, Thomas, Smart, Stewart and Travis Hunt. At the pointy end of the field, in before that, Dan Hall, Greg Sharp in row 6, Nickel, Lewis on row 7. It was Latham and Cairns for row number 8. Row 9 going to be Flavel and Hall, Nash and Craig Friend rounding out your top 20 here, Dean. And if you want, I'll power through the rest of these ones here. So Chris Miller 21st, Mark Poynton 22nd, Scott McCune 23rd with Darren Crosby in 24th. David Kirby, Steve Kennedy going to be 25th and 26th on the grid here tonight, with 27th for Robert Crisdale and 28th to Paul Burns. Top 30 rounded out by Brad Doble and Halal Cesar, with the next couple of cars, Jason Fewens, Stephen Varga looking outside in 32nd, Robbie Griffiths in 33rd, Darren Goosey alongside for 34th place, Shane Randell and Glenn Corbett in the 18th row for this one here tonight. And coming to the end of drivers who did set times in qualifying, Blake Delaney, uncompetitive time in qual with Mike Talansich on the outside looking in. Jay McKnight and Troy Stonestreet for the top 40 there tonight, and that is going to almost round the grid. Stephen Gretsch is there, and also there is going to be a question as to whether that Scott McCune can make the race. We fingers hopes cross he will, Dean, because he's had some issues last time out. Hopefully all working as expected.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to see people not take to the grid, so of course hopefully he gets on. But yeah, we've got the Zoom feed here with a few of the drivers on. Nice turnout on the Zoom feed, actually. Plenty of guys on there showing their stuff. Sean McNamara getting jiggy with it before he starts off from pole position, of course. And these guys look like they're ready and raring to go.
Yeah, you bet they are. So this is now a matter of, finishing off the countdown here tonight and getting ready to go racing for this one. So we've got ourselves, plenty of drivers here looking to get some screen time. We'll hopefully get as many of them on the camera as we can this evening as a result. And now just a matter of waiting for the lights to go green here tonight. We have ourselves a 37-lap race around Road Atlanta coming our way for this one here tonight, Dean. 150 kilometres as a result. So 2 compulsory stops. They only need to take between 60 and 70 litres of fuel between those 2 stops as well, might I add. So it is going to be pretty short on the fuel in that respect. So apologies for some of the paint issues we're having here tonight. This is something that I've been trying to fix. No luck yet. It might have to be something we'll get a proper fix sorted out by the time, well, maybe for next round. We'll see if we can get it sorted out for final round of the season. Would be good to have everyone obviously resplendent in their normal paints as usual. So now just waiting for the final couple of seconds here as there we go. Timer hits 0, Dean. The revs will rise. It's time to get racing here for round 9 of the RaceKraft V8 Veterans Championship from Road Atlanta, and we are underway.
Yeah, most of the front of them got to a good start there. No issues towards the front. Be careful at the back there, though. You're starting on that bend. Now, it looks like most drivers got off the grid all right as we make our way down to turn 1. And Sean McNamara holding on to that pole position with Luke Rundell right behind him. But look out for number 1, Scotty Gamble. Trying to get her way through, and some smoke coming up in the background there. 3 wide through the corner for some guys, but look at that. They've all made it out unscathed then.
So far, so good. Down the S's they will come, and out the bottom as they make the run towards turns 5 and 6 here tonight. And try and sort themselves out here as we power up towards this road. Oh, drop there for Sean McNamara from the front of the field. Apologies for the camera switch. That is a issue there potentially. Has put Luke Rundell to the front of the field as a result. You see here, hopefully McNamara can make his way back into the server, because that's not ideal in the slightest.
I haven't seen at the bottom that he's dropped from the server yet, so that's a good sign. But that's not what you want to see from pole position. Here we go, too wide into the final chicane, not quite. Luke Rundell pulling out of that one, but Scott Gamble, meanwhile, has taken the lead and showing that he's got that number one on his door for a reason. You mentioned before that he hasn't been to a lot of the events this season, so it'd be good to see him, see what he can produce here. But so far, it looks like it's been pretty clean up and down the grid. Of course, aside from, unfortunately, the dropout. But, yeah, fantastic driving so far. It's a bit of a tight way to start there, around the corner on the grid. And then coming up the hill into the S's on the first lap is definitely going to be tricky. And we saw 2 or 3 wide there at times. So, fantastic stuff from the gentleman in those V8s tonight.
Ticking boxes so far, indeed, as you said, on these opening laps. And, yeah, just waiting for the inevitable, it seems, for... and there it is, Sean McNamara drops from the server. And see if I can actually bring him up on our Zoom all time, because he is still there, which means it's just specifically iRacing. And yeah, unfortunately, that's the look of a man there who's desperately trying to get himself sorted out and back in action. But that's going to take a little while. It seems to be all sorted and back in racing.
Yeah, incredibly disappointing for him. He had such a good quali time, fantastic start to the race, and it didn't take long for him to drop. But yeah, really disappointing to see that. But back to the action, I suppose. The show must go on. We're seeing a move being done here into the chicane in the background there. But meanwhile, Ken Latta going to get his move sorted on Matt van der Kraan in that Angry Birds Racing Mustang. Livery not loading, unfortunately, for some of these guys. And like you said, little technical difficulties here and there. It's not just for the drivers, sometimes for the broadcast too. But for the most part at the moment, I said before, everyone's sort of settled into a bit of a groove. Maybe looking at, we spoke about it while the broadcast wasn't actually on, but the strategy tonight, you've got a few options, of course. You've got to stop twice, 2 compulsory stops. The fuel limit, you're starting with 50 litres, but you can actually technically fuel all the way to the end in 1 stop. However, that's not really advised, seeing as you need to take 2 stops anyway, so you may as well underfuel. Someone getting a little bit sideways there in the background there, Dan. Not sure who that was, but yeah, options are pretty open for the boys tonight in terms of strategy.
Yeah, it sure is. You know, I'm trying to fix the paints up as we go, because I can do that without it looking awfully drastic, but I'm getting the feeling I might have to go for the nuclear option at some point to make that all behave the way we want. As watching our drivers here, apologies, that's not the button I wanted to press, and that's not fixed things at all. Yeah, I'm having a real good night tonight, it seems, in the background. Guess I'll have to grin and bear it from this point onwards, as yeah, try and get things in an orderly state for the start of this race.
Hey, look, it's not easy to multitask, and you know, it's tricky to produce, and it's not that hard to commentate, I think, if I can do it. But doing them both at the same time is a whole nother task. But you go, that SimSpeed livery looks all right to me. I don't know if we need to get rid of that or not, but here we go, the 55 machine, that is
Stephen Kennedy.
Stephen Kennedy pulling into his box early on with, I think that's Mark Poynton behind him. So they're pulling in early to get their stops done, maybe looking at getting out of the sort of traffic, looking at the undercut. They were not quite at the front end of the field, so a lot of traffic and difference in pace going on. Did see in qualifying that the pace between the first and the last competitive time was something like 1.8 seconds, so really tight in terms of pace tonight. A few guys have dived into the box already. Some differentiating stop times too. Have a look at Rod Crisdale was in his box for another 6 seconds longer than most of the guys are pitting at the same time as him. So he might be looking at grabbing a little bit more fuel and going for a longer middle stint, and then giving himself a shorter stint towards the end as the Angry Birds Racing Machine dropping down. Lost a couple of spots there. So that was Michael Whiting and Ken Latta getting through there on the 180 machine and Matt van der Kraan. So he's only down 1 spot overall, but of course he was up a couple of spots and just lost them in the space of 2 corners, which is pretty easy to do at this circuit, going through that chicane there. It's very hard to keep that car under control, and he's still under threat from Christian Smart behind as well. So I wonder if he's perhaps got some issues on board with some damage or some tyre wear. The car looks pretty clean to me, but maybe he hasn't brought those tyres in quite nicely enough.
one of the big things it seems this season from Matt van der Kraan is he got great qualifying pace. Either something with the way he's starting the car or just general race trim. It doesn't, even though we're only 5 laps into this one, it can be a rough time for him at times out on track, unfortunately. So hope to see if he can maybe rebound in the middle part of the race or something to that effect. But yeah, at this point in time, he is starting to go backwards relative to cars he started the round.
Yeah, well, that's a thing with some guys. It's either one way or the other. You can't always be good at qualifying and racing, and a lot of your practice, of course, in the lead up to the events is lone sort of pace. Is he getting a little bit squirrely there over the crest, which is something we probably should be watching for as well. Pretty easy to become unstuck there, but as I was saying, the difference between your qualifying pace and your race pace can sometimes be quite significant. But think about the practice time you get. You don't get to practice the race a lot, you get to practice your qualifying a lot. So that's one thing to take into account, but it's just race experience as well, I think, in these cars. They're not easy to go side by side and try and set up manoeuvres and keep your nose clean. Very tricky to stay on the circuit, let alone going too wide in a circuit like Road Atlanta. So, of course, that's something you've got to take into account. But van der Kraan seems to have settled back in. On the attack, though, still Christian Smart looking to get a little bit closer in that Mustang, to the back of that Mustang, mind you. And, he might have a little bit of a run here coming down the back straight in the draft. See what he can make up here.
Race up towards the corner here and down the backstretch. That's that one camera there. Hadn't quite fixed up, but should be sorted now. Into 10A, 10B they will come here on lap 6, and Smart on the apex of 10A. But it's the apex 10B for van der Kraan, and as a result parks the bus, prevents Smart from getting the over-under, and Jeff Thomas is invited into the conversation in the JWM. Was that in behind side-by-side back? I think I saw, yes, we do indeed have side-by-side going in behind there. So that's Dan Hall there scrapping with, that'll be Michael Stewart, indeed it is, in behind him here. So, oh, pardon it, that didn't work there as intended, and sick. I think that's just had another moment as well. Yep, excellent. I'm having really good moment tonight as just heard an unsafe entry for one of the cars, 808 I think it was. I'm just going to throw this on for a second so I can do that. And we'll pop that back there now. Apologies for that, folks. It's really apparently my night to have everything go wrong, if it can go wrong. Both human error and technological error, it seems.
Yep, there's that old saying, if it can go wrong, it will. But seemingly nothing going wrong here for most of the drivers on the grid tonight. So they sort of space themselves out a fair bit now. Our race leader, Scotty Gamble, sort of settled himself into a bit of a rhythm with Luke Rundell just behind him under that rear wing, just showing that he's not going to sort of let him drop off. They're very similar on pace so far tonight, and Luke Rundell probably just sort of biding his time, waiting for a good opportunity to get that move done and take the race lead. But meanwhile, in the mid-pack is where most of the action sort of happens, all the risky manoeuvres where we normally see in the mid-pack. You've got a lot to gain, not a lot to lose. So you see what the guys can sort of conjure up here as we sort of progress through the race. There's still plenty of time to go, only 8 laps in. It was like we've had enough sort of manoeuvres for only a couple of laps. So the guys sort of just playing it a little bit smart, playing the long game for even such a short race. We're seeing some level heads from these veterans.
Funnily enough, it's in the name like it belongs. And yeah, these guys here certainly no strangers to a fair shout of it there. As just, yeah, noting, has been noted by a couple of drivers. Issue for Travis Hunt earlier, although it appears to be the case if he's gotten back out on track. And looking at how his race went, I think he got issued a rear of grid start for that race there. So he qualified 10th, but had to start from the back of the field, and that's what did him in there. So having hit Shane Randell, and well, I don't want to press the magic button. Oh, it does work now. Okay, good. That's not going to crash the overlays. As it's Scott McCune sneaking his way through. As also good to see there on track, Sean McNamara back out amongst it despite dropping out of the session earlier. Can Randell hang on? Yes, he can. Oh, no. Which one of the hypersonic? Glenn Corbett's around in the background.
I know. It's an easy spot to do it. They're still side by side coming into the final corner. And if they held on to that, but Glenn Corbett coming into the lane, I think now, might have a bit of damage, but Scott McCune holding out in front at the moment. And I think, you know, that 10A, 10B complex is a bit tricky because you're probably going to defend the outside on the approach if you're the leading car, and you don't want to give that position up because, of course, then you get the next two apexes, and they're very tight little run onto the final corner. So keeping the overlap there from the outside is probably the preference in my experience. And here goes Scott Gamble, and here we go. Luke Grundell looking to size up a move, maybe pulls out of it, and just keeping Scotty on his toes there. You know, is Grundell, and I think that's probably all you can sort of do at the moment without taking too much of a risk. Maybe try and unsettle Scott a little bit. He said that he hasn't competed in a lot of the events this year. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's been doing the G Pro Invitational. Is that right, Dan?
Yeah, Scott has, but I should actually to clarify that statement there. No, it's actually Luke Grundell who's been one of the drivers who we haven't seen a lot of this season at the point. Scott Gamble, championship leader, and as a result, defending that number one in solid fashion here tonight. Once again, as we go here. So, for Grundell, who broke out onto the veteran scene last season, number 19, with a couple of strong results. It's unfortunately been, pace has come and gone, and results, well, actually only been here a couple of times this season. So the fact is that we've already nearly checked off one quarter. In fact, we've checked off one quarter race distance and a little bit more there after 9 full laps, and 10th lap currently ongoing there tonight. So already making some progress in this one as we watch them rip down the backstraight once again.
I think I was getting Scotty mixed up with someone else, but that goes to show that how much I've been paying attention this season. Last minute fill in, but I'll use that as my excuse. Apologies, Scott. Our championship leader has definitely not been missing many rounds. But meanwhile, doing a fantastic job at the moment to keep Grundell at bay. Next down the line, Ken Latta and Michael Whiting, you know, still a bit of a gap to the leaders at the moment. So Scott and Luke just sort of pulling away with it. And meanwhile, we've got the battle for 18th between. We've just got some jumbling of the order there because of the pitting. But Michael Taliancic now in 15th, and Paul Burns and Stewart behind as well, and he's boxed as well. So the 186 machine of Goosey behind as well. So a bit of a jumble as we come across the front straight there. We spoke about it earlier. The strategy is really going to come into play because the order's just getting jumbled and fumbled around, and you can lose and gain a lot of time in the pits here. We said the undercut's pretty strong, but not only that, but actually getting the entry and exit on the pits, your in and your out laps, you really got to nail them as well because such a tight field. You know, 1.7, 1.8 seconds between competitive quali laps from first to last was such a tight gap. You know, a small mistake on the way in or out of the pits can really unsettle that. But here we go, moving and shaking up into 10A, 10B, but staying out in front was I think that's John Latham keeping Tim Nicol at bay. John Latham showing up 6 positions at the moment. Probably hasn't pitted yet, which would be the reason for that for the most part, but just brings to my point, it's just jumbling up the order quite a lot.
Yeah, this little 4-car pack seems to be one of our battles to keep an eye on here, as Latham trying to eye off Jeff Thomas in this one. As there you go, Friend, Taliancic and Goosey in that sort of pack from further, some of those guys from the pack further on back, all down at the lane here at the end of lap number 11. They can do about 15, 16 laps on the starting tank of fuel, so they've got a bit more to go in terms of how far they can make it. But yeah, at this stage of the race, it would appear that it's going to be drivers looking to maybe go long now and then sort of do, maybe we'll have to see, do they do a mid-stint again and then a really short blast at the end? The weather is favourable for the drivers in this series. In fact, it's static conditions to minimise variability and changeability of things here tonight in this season. Well, in this series, it's how it's always been since we started covering it. So Yeah, grips high, temperatures are low, and as a result, they should have some potential to mix things up. And there you go, Grundle from second place. Dan Hall from this battle in seventh will peel in as well.
Yep, we're all starting to see them all dive in now, not long till the positions will sort of be reset back to where they should be once all the stops have been made. But yeah, that's the question now is how long is this middle stint going to be? Do you stay out for a while if you're pretty far back and look to capitalise on a longer stint, shorter stint towards the end? Here we go. We're seeing a bit of action here. John Latham and Jeff Thomas fighting over that P5 at the moment. And John Latham was right under that wing of Jeff Thomas, and here he goes. He's got a bit of a run here, coming down into the back section of the circuit. This is a critical part of the track. You've got to really get this final corner onto the back straight right. He gets a little nudge maybe there, does Jeff Thomas from John Latham behind, but not too far behind them as well. Tim Nicol ready to pick up the pieces if this goes awry. And here we go. He's got the run, the 24 machine going to the inside. So he'll have the inside of 10A and the outside of 10B. In turn 11, he'll be on the outside too. So we've really got to try and get an out break done here. Purple Commodore getting it done down the inside is John Latham. Fantastic move from him, and he blocks the apex on the way out and checks up Jeff Thomas a bit. And here he goes, Jeff Thomas into the box anyway. So probably the right move for him. He's already lost a bit of time going through that corner. And Tim Nicol followed him in as well. So boys have said, that's enough. I'm having a pit stop, see where I come out. But I think if you've got losing a bit of time already on that particular lap, because you've got to go a little bit slower over the final corner to get it into the box, you may as well just take it if it's there. But you go Matt Vanderkraan getting past Michael Stewart again. So these guys have swapped positions, I think once or twice already this race. And that Angry Birds Mustang is looking a little bit more stable than it was earlier. So maybe settled into a bit of a flow state here in that 180 machine for Matt Vanderkraan.
Yeah, well, also noting there, Blake Delaney, a driver who's been in the woes tonight. So we've had Troy Stone Street here, riding 37th and a lap down, unfortunately. 38th for Sean McNamara, also a lap down on the field. Blake Delaney too. And both of them disconnecting on the same lap, it looks like, for insult to injury as well. With those guys there as well. So hopefully they'll get a chance to rebound. For now, Ken Latta leads those who have pitted in this race. Currently they're in fifth and sitting a good 40 seconds behind your race leader in Scott Gamble, who's gone again on lap 15. Mark Poynton, next car into the lane there from what was third place.
Yeah, I think he'll drop a fair ways back, Will Poynton. Talking to him a little bit earlier in the Discord, he's a teammate of mine, so the boys have been putting him and Robert put in a fair bit of work for this round, but not only that, for the rest of the season as well. So I think he'll be looking to gain a few spots and make that work pay off. Meanwhile, so we've got the battle for 15th, and I believe that Sharp just got past Hall, so that's a good little move there, and a bit of overlap there in that pink fishy motorsports car as well. Gets the move done, I think, through turn 1 and turn 2. We've got more overlap in the background as well, so plenty of moves and shakes happening. And now that everyone's made their pit stops, there's a few tide life differences, so that'll be coming into play a lot more at the start and towards the end of the stint as well. So fantastic stuff there from the boys. Michael Taliancic leads David Nash at the moment for P20 in that 911 Commodore, looking maybe to get that position back. I think he just gave it up very recently, but that's not going to do it, going a little bit wide into turn 9. So there goes that opportunity.
Yeah, Taliancic actually picking that one off the top of the S's was a pretty bold move by the looks of things. It worked out quite nicely. So Chad Lewis, he will go a 16th lap here in this race. Do note the leaders are on lap 16 in the pit boxes here. So he will potentially go towards the front of the order. As Scott Gamble coming out is going to lose the effective race lead to Ken Latta here. Now this is big. Latta was just in behind, and as a result, as gained, Luke Grundle was undercut as well. So top 3 now here in behind Chad Lewis, although Grundle understeered, trying to pull it up for turn 2. Can he hold on to that position in front of Gamble? He will for now. And Ken Ladder's going to be loving this. Look, it's only a couple of car lengths, but that's all critical when the car behind you that you're racing directly here tonight has just been, well, balked with his outlap run here, although he will fight towards turn 6 and get the run into this back half of the lap. But for Scott Gamble, he will be denied for another corner at least.
Yep, that's huge in this race. Grundle getting in front of Gamble after those pit stops, but Ken Ladder becoming the former. Yes, I've been waiting a few laps to say that, and fantastic stuff from him to steal that lead, but here he goes. Scott Gamble looking to make a move to the outside of 10A on Luke Grundle. Remember I said earlier, this gives you the, look at that, he's just given the position away. I think Luke knows that's not really his fight. Maybe it's not worth trying to hold on to that for now. Maybe looking at the long game and doesn't want to lose too much time trying to fight for a position that he might think that he's not going to be able to hold on to anyway. So pretty clever, I think, there from Luke Grundle. And meanwhile, Chad Lewis dropping down the order. He's making his pit stop. Got a little bit not excited, but almost disappointed there to see him dropping down. But that's because he is, I think he's the last one to make that first pit stop, if I'm not mistaken. So he's in, and now we're back to square. And here we go. Tim Nicol, very, very damaged car there. We talked about safety cars, and what a timing of that. It's after everyone's just made their first stop. So he's that was looking very second hand there, Dan.
Yeah, and without any surprises, the safety car will be scrambled for this one here, folks. And as you said, everyone's done a stop, but they are well inside the range to make it home. So surely, for our leading drivers like the top 4 here, they are all about to dive straight back into the pit lane, which will go against what they might have had initially planned. We'll do a 20-lap run to the finish here to wrap this race up here tonight, you would think. As it looks like Blake Delaney, unfortunately, has also called it quits. If he has done that, that is quite possibly the most unfortunate bit of timing from Blake Delaney there, as well as indeed top 4 will dive into the lane for their second compulsory service. And yeah, I would expect now we watch everyone come through. It will be a case of follow the leader.
Yeah, and I think the only reason you stay out is if you're really far down the order and you reckon there's going to be another safety car. But I reckon we're pretty much going to see everyone go in, and we got a spinner. He's parked up on the side there. That's the... Who's that? Craig Friend.
Yep.
I wonder if there was a bit of contact or just lost it on his own there, but... Bit hectic on the way into the pit lane. There's a lot of concertina. Here we go. Here's a replay of the entry of the pit lane. Here we go. We're on board with Craig at the moment. Old Mate and Sons racing team here. Looks fine. Looks a little nudge from the back. Yep, there it is. That's unfortunate. Sometimes you can see that happen on the way into the pit lane, especially under safety car. Different people have different interpretations of how much speed you can carry into the lane before getting it pulled up. So I'd expect race control probably be handing out a penalty for that. So that's unfortunate for both drivers involved. But meanwhile, here we go. Ken Ladder behind the safety car at the moment, still in the lead. So didn't make a mistake on the way in or out of the pits. Obviously, you can't pass on the safety car, but if you spend a bit longer in your box than your rivals, you're going to lose that position. So pretty much all things normal in the sort of front of the field. No sort of issues there.
Yep, checking that off quite nicely. In fact, let's bring up on the timing tower for everyone watching along with us here that last pit stop times, because well, we all know they came into the pits here on end of lap 17. As you know, so we can now safely say Blake Delaney, unfortunately, to be withdrawn from the totem pole, and Tim Nicol will get a chance to get back out, I think, but he'll be in there for a little bit longer before he's released back to the racetrack. So we'll leave that one there. So let's have a look here at our stop times, Dean. In fact, actually, what I'll do is I can also bring to the. Yes, good reminder there. Sorry about that, man. I'm having a real mare of a broadcast tonight. Jeez.
No, you're doing well, mate. You're doing well, but I think Dan's gonna give us a replay here before he rebuttals and says he's no good. I'll cut him off so he can't say that. But while he's getting the replay of the incident going there, have a look at some of these pit stop times. Most of them around the 11-12 mark, but here we go. Here's the incident that kicked off the safety car. It's Tim Nicol. He got a little bit out of sorts on the way into the final corner and gets a fair whack from behind. Missed sort of red, I think, from the car behind. He didn't have the line coming into the final corner. So that is, yeah, so we're on board now, Craig Friend. So we saw him cop the spin on the way into the pits. So he's maybe a little bit of the racing gods showing a little bit of karma maybe, but he'll definitely be getting a penalty for that one, I would think. But that's pretty tricky spot to get out of sorts and out of line, because such a fast section of the track, just miscalculated there. So we'll be expecting a penalty coming his way, I would imagine. Meanwhile, Dan Hall in the lane,
black flag,
seemingly for a black flag.
Yep. Now, don't know if that's because he's had an issue. Well, he's also come into the pits and taken service as part of this here. What it will do is it will send him to the very back of the lead lap queue. He is still on the lead lap, mind you, as we've just had a message come through as well. Race control will be getting this race back underway here at the end of lap 19. So not sure what Dan's gone and done wrong. So given he stopped and took service, I'm thinking it's he's made an error on the way into the pits, or out of the pits, quite likely actually in that case, unless the incident limit has come to bite our first driver for tonight. There is that possibility, of course, as well to consider, Dean.
Yeah, so many possibilities. I think generally race control, when they hand out a penalty, probably normally a drive-through. I don't think the stop and goes really come out too often from the human race control, but we do know that the iRacing stewards are very strict when it comes to pit entries and pit exits. You get over the line a little bit too much, and sometimes it's like a 40-second stop and hold, which is an absolute race killer. So really disappointing to see that. You don't want to see anyone sort of race end prematurely, but yeah, I think we've got a pretty good, finish coming up. The guys are all jumbled up. They're all on the same tyre life. They're all compulsory stops checked off. So look to see everything being thrown out there. Nothing will be left on the track. Race position now means race position. No pit stops, no undercuts. Ken Latta leading us into the final chicane. He's got control of the field. He did manage to stay out in front of Scott Gamble, even with a slightly slower pit stop time. So look at the totem pole there as well. Some people may have to be saving some fuel if they didn't take enough in their first stop. We're planning on the second stop, but look to see the hammer drop very shortly here for Ken Latta. Here he goes over the final corner, trying to get the most advantage possible as the race leader. That's the privilege you get. Here he goes down, and we are racing again off the main straight here at Road Atlanta. Huge field follows behind. There's a massive gap from first to last, so some of the guys not really awake at the wheel. Someone goes wide there, coming onto the main straight, one of the back end field positions, but seems to have got that back on track. I think it was Jason Fewens catching a fair whack of grass there, managing to gather it up and keep himself going for now. But just saying, a few big gaps between cars there as they came across the start finish line. So some guys maybe not so alert, ready to go when they thought they might have been. So big issues there for some guys, but a bit squirrely there is that 186 Commodore there. And we're seeing John Latham just got past Chad Lewis as well. It's all happened. Got there.
Oh no, they're on track. David Kirby, I think, backwards. Yes, and dead stick as well. Well, yep, completely dead. Wow,
that's unfortunate, and that is the face of a disappointed David Kirby, and I think some profanity coming out between those lips, unfortunately, and yeah, understandably so. He's not too happy. I wonder what exactly happened there. The safety car's been thrown out again, so last couple of laps been under caution. Here we go again, under caution again. So that will be a little bit interesting again, because we spoke about it before, the fuel saving and the fuel numbers. Here he goes, David Kirby getting a little bit of overlap there. Ooh,
It's from behind by the looks of things. Let's go on board with Mike Taliancic to confirm.
that's unfortunate. Probably thought that he was clear, or Taliancic thought he was clear as well. Here we go, he's on the outside. Turn in, he's clear, he's clear, he's clear. Got the overlap. Oh, no overlap there at all, just a little touch from behind, and that's enough to send David Kirby into the fence and facing backwards, which of course is not how you wanted to get that restart going and try to get the car to move, but the thing is very broken.
Just had Tim Nicol call in on the radio as well. Right, well, this should neutralise the situation. Because now, as you said, well, second back-to-back safety car period. We'll see if they try and shorten this one up at all for us here, and for those of everyone, us watching, those on the track as well. Never like to do a back-to-back safety car procedure where you can avoid it. It's actually already clearing David Kirby off the circuit on the backstretch, so that will get that proceeding out of the way in short order. Just waiting to see then, how long it takes, Dean, before we go back racing here.
Surely not too long. Back-to-back safety cars, of course, in the sim, the actual safety is not the issue. It's more just the realism side of things, trying to make it as more close to real life as we possibly can, which is definitely what sim racing is all about. But meanwhile, as broadcasters and fans alike, they're itching to get this thing going, and hoping that we're only out for 1 or 2 laps with the safety car. But I think just look to see, everyone's definitely pitted now. There was a couple guys like in the pit lane a moment ago, which may have missed the initial pit stop on the last safety car, gaining positions. But now I really think we're definitely sort of hopefully in for a flat out race to the end. Tim Nicol getting his wave around. We saw him getting some issues early on, so he'll be delighted to get his lap back as he passes the field. Such a big field we've got tonight. Is it 38 or 39 cars or something, Dan? And really good turnout we see basically week in, week out for the V8 Vets series.
Yeah, I'm seeing 39 starters and 38 still in this one, including David Kirby, though, mind you. Unfortunately, and actually quite tragically, Jamie McKnight was set to start this race, as far as I can tell, but disconnected at some point during practice or qualifying. And the thing is, I mentioned it very briefly as part of the pre-race stuff when I'm the one in charge of putting us on the right channels, and completely botched the start of the broadcast there. And it looks like David Kirby has just finished up pitting. He might just get back out here, only a lap or so down, as the field comes around to start lap 23 behind the safety car. And that will leave us with just 14 laps. Yep, we'll have a 14-lap sprint, I suspect, here to finish this one off. And now I've got to remember to start looking to see who is potentially in line for a peek at that Chubby Buns Burgers driver of the day as well, Dean, despite all of the things. Here's Dan Hall back in the pits again. Now, he's already put himself at the back of the field. In fact, he's been in the pits now 3 times.
That's probably one more time than expected, I believe, and that's not ideal.
Yes, it's going to be very interesting as to whether this works for him. He was down the back of the field already, having had his big, lengthy pit stop that had a penalty, so it doesn't hurt. But still, I wonder, is he burning the tyres that hard on that previous safety car run? Like, super short period there before we went under yellow, unfortunately, once again, as to whether that'll help him out or not. Either way, Safety car will be back in at the end of this lap and confirm a 14-lap sprint should we stay green to the end of this one here. As a safety car final instructions being issued to the guys up front. Not too long now, I think, until we get this one started again, Dean.
Nope, just that length of the back straight. I think we saw Ken Ladder on the first restart. He got it going at 10B. It's probably the ideal spot if you're trying to defend from Scott Gamble behind, because Gamble, if Ken Ladder's putting the hammer down just on the apex or just after the apex of 10B, that means Scott Gamble is just before the apex, which is not ideal for wanting to put the right foot into it. So all these sort of things come into play on the safety car resets. Of course, you know, the race starts as a standing start, but generally we're used to seeing standing starts for V8 supercars. Of course, safety cars out means rolling starts. It's a completely different kettle of fish, but I wonder if we're going to see something a little bit different from Ken here. The field behind him getting ready to go. Here he goes. He's gone earlier this time, and I think that might have... I don't think that caught Scott off guard at all, because he got it going pretty quickly after that. He was ready to go, but of course, Ladder with the lead, he gets the advantage. The Angry Birds machine there, Matt Vanderkraan getting a little bit sideways into the final corner there. So you're seeing the full field come through once again. Nose to tail for a lot of it. No overlaps. Here we go here at the moment. But Ken Ladder got a fantastic launch there. Scott Campbell was not sleeping. He was ready to go. But look at Grundell behind as well, staying within the fight, keeping that podium spot. And he started in P2. Of course, inherited the lead of the race when we had the disconnection, but dropped down to P3 now. So he's looking to get back onto that second step of the podium. But I think Scotty Gamble has got his eyes set on that P1 of Ken Ladder, who actually gained 5 spots in the race. So fantastic drive from him. We saw him sort of inherit that position over the safety car, and over the first pit stop, and kept it right until the first and second safety car. So fantastic stuff from him, Dan, and they're pretty much settled back into a groove now. Hopefully we just got green flag to the end.
Big fingers crossed indeed, as Scott Gamble gets awfully close there through the 10A, 10B complex, but won't be able to get close enough on this particular occasion here as they round the end of another lap here at Road Atlanta. Lap 25 now underway as we are coming rapidly to the end of this Michelin 150 here tonight. Despite the 2 safety car interventions, we are on track to probably have only another, got exactly 13 laps to go. They're clocking them in at 1 minute 20 or so apiece, but not even less than that, is going to mean that these drivers here should probably be done in the next 16, 17 odd minutes. So it is going to be a fast and furious race here to the end, if what we've seen so far is anything to go by.
Definitely, and just having a quick look at the timings, you mentioned 2-minute lap times. Scott Gamble, 1:18.7 on the previous lap versus Ken Ladder 1:19 flat. So, of course, Ken getting a better launch off the safety car, but Scott doing a better overall lap once they got going again. So, Ken Ladder probably just really keeping an eye on his mirrors. There's a lap time difference in the sectors. Scott making up a fair bit of time in Sector 3, which is where they are coming up to at the moment, apologies. But look how close he's getting. He's right under the wing, and he gets a little bit screwed there, Ken Ladder. Here we go, Scott Gamble. This is his opportunity to take that race lead back. He's right under the rear wing of Ken Ladder. He's got the overlap coming into turn 1. It's really hard to stay on the outside here, but Ladder's holding on to it. He really wants to keep this lead. Scott Gamble staying behind. Fantastic job from Ken Ladder to hold on to that. He got so out of shape coming out of the final corner, and Scott couldn't capitalise on that. And that's fantastic defensive driving from Ken Ladder. He did not back out of that at all. Holding the outside of turn 1 so difficult, and he's managed to hold on to that. So big props to him, and he'll live to fight another day.
Yeah, the thing is that the cars behind are so close, such as Luke Grundell here, who we're now right on board with, that Gamble didn't end up having a lot of time to make it work. As you said, he got that nice run down the start finish. Inside was his at turn 1, but Ken just absolutely abusing his left rear tyres. There's trouble at the back for Paul Burns and Glenn Corbett.
Yeah, Glenn Corbett off the circuit there. That's
on the short.
The short layout. Any damage on those cars that you can see?
Not from these angles here.
Yeah, Glenn Corbett was in the alternative layout cutting through the S's, and Paul Burns looks like he doesn't have any damage either. So I wonder if there's just a slight bit of contact. Both drivers keep spinning off the circuit. Some calls going in through to race control to have a look at that one. So boys will have their work cut out for them. As here we go, Mike Taliancic. Unexpected pit stop, or was he serving a penalty for earlier on?
Yeah, this is a penalty from race control. Yep. So through the lane here will come and back out the other side. Unfortunately there for Mr. T. Unfortunately don't quite know for which. Actually, there's only been the one there with David Kirby, so I should say it's fairly self-explanatory. Hasn't been anything else that's come to our attention that Mike's been involved in tonight that he's been deemed at fault for. Back up the front though, top four still nose to tail, 1.2 seconds as they come off of turn 8 there, I think, or turn 6s. Corners here at Road Atlanta are a bit of a nebulous numbering case. Let alone here at the end of the lap with 10A and 10B, because maths.
I liken it to the metric and the imperial system. The Americans going with miles and feet and chains and furlongs, whereas the rest of the world's quite happy to use metric systems. And I don't think there's a lot of tracks outside the US that use the AB sort of turn names, but nevertheless, mind the turn numbers. But this is such a fantastic circuit. It's really a challenge in these V8 supercars because of the elevation changes. These cars are sort of geared and driven. It's so easy to lose the rear. So these boys at the front obviously doing a fantastic job to keep it on the circuit at the moment. We saw Ken Latta that minor moment coming out of the final corner into turn 1. And that's just how easy it can come unstuck. You can make that tiny little mistake and the guys behind are ready to pounce. And that's what we see a lot of the time in the real game, in the real life supercars. And it gets even more so in iRacing because, of course, you don't have that real life feel. No bum in the seat. So it's quite easy to lose control of these cars. So big hats off to the guys managing to keep everything in order. Here we go. We got the John Latham. Look at the lineup. Christian Smart here. Smart defending the inside. A little bit of, I don't know if there was a little bit of contact there, but pulled out at the last second to the 24 of Latham, and he had a run, but he had nowhere to go with it. And, pretty well defended there from Christian Smart. It's smartly defended, if I say so. Pardon the pun. But yeah, I think, I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but here you go. Here's that replay, Dan.
Yeah, so side by side down the bottom of the S's, and then tag, and both of them spear off. And for Glenn Corbett, he's a mile up the short configuration road. Paul Burns is able to get back out there and carry on, relatively speaking, promptly. So, unfortunately, I just missed out which one of them it was, but I'm in Paul Burns because I heard the points penalty has been issued for that incident, so that'll apply post-race there as well. Back to live pitches we'll go. Just have a look at a couple of the other battles that are happening here on circuit tonight, as we do have several of them here at this stage. 12th-ish on back. Well, 12th as far back as 19th, you could say here, Dean, in one unbroken train, for example.
Yeah, and David Nash is the cork in the bottle almost, but you know, it's one thing to be close, but it's another thing to get past. And Darren Crosby just sort of a little bit too far at this particular moment, but the guys behind the two in front are probably losing a little bit of patience here. So we're seeing a move being attempted. That's the Robbie Griffiths and the Fishy Motorsports Commodore holding on to that position. So saying the guys behind probably starting to get a little bit impatient. Let's get moving. Let's get racing. I want to see some moves being made. And I think if you've got the cars behind, it's risk and reward again. You've got quite a bit to lose from that position, but a lot more to gain as well if you can make your way through the order. Good to see Tim Nicol back out there on the lead lap, I believe. Got his sort of race back on track, which is good to see after he caught some issues early on. Jeff Thomas on board here with him. 666, I mentioned it before, the pink liveried Fishy Motorsport, Chris Miller, just sitting there waiting for the best moment. Jeff Thomas on the Zoom feed with a nice little setup here. Fantastic stuff from the guys to get on the Zoom feed and give us a little insight into their physical beings as opposed to their virtual beings. But look at Chris Miller getting a little bit closer and closer within each braking zone. We have lost Jeff, I think, on the Zoom feed. Not so much live for him, but yeah, Jeff just trying to hold on to that P9. But yeah, Chris Miller just getting a little bit closer, and then behind him, Chad Lewis, David Nash as well. Those guys right on the tail too. So as I said before, one minor mistake can really trip up one or two guys, and you can lose a couple of spots very, very easy and quickly on a circuit like Road Atlanta.
Yeah, well, part of the trick there, Dennis, and why we've got so many people on Zoom, this season actually pays out a championship point for every race that you're on Zoom with us for. So that is the equivalent of half a position if you're in the mid-pack. So when you add that up over the course of a 10-race season, that's 5 championship positions for free. Well, 5 positions in a race, I should say, that you've just earned from being on Zoom with us each and every time. As an example here, Michael Stewart back with us once again and looking to get sold up and in behind him. Latham and Smart take 2, I think that is. Oh, get this in here. Oh, it's Tim Nicol, sorry, who's actually been mauled at the last turn. I wanted to go to John Latham, 24, and he's through on Christian Smart there. End of lap 31, so come into 6 laps to go here, and maybe can attack for a top 5 as Whiting is trying to dispatch of Luke Grondell at turn 1, and Gamble through to the race lead in the meantime off screen.
Jesus, all happening, can't keep up with this, but yeah, Scott Gamble getting into the lead now, and yeah, a little change there between Luke Grondell, Michael Whiting for that final podium spot. Gonna have to see a replay or two here. Here's Scott Gamble. This will be his move for the lead. Coming down the back straight. He's got it under the draft. Let's see which side he goes. He takes the inside into 10A. So he must have taken a pretty decent braking lunge here maybe to get past. Yeah, gets it done. That's fantastic stuff on the, well, I suppose the middle pedal, left or right foot, whichever preference you have. But fantastic stuff from him. Just got that out-braking manoeuvre done. We saw him get that done earlier on in the same spot. Such a long braking zone with such a long run into it. So really a great opportunity to get a move done. But of course, if you can't get done at 10A, you're on the outside of 10B, and you may as well forget about it. And you lose a lot of time with the cars behind doing that. So again, it's that risk versus reward. Scott backed himself in, pulled the move off. Fantastic stuff from him, taking the race lead and carrying on in the best position he can to maintain that championship lead.
Yeah, he certainly is indeed looking to maximise and extend the margins here at the pointy end of the field. And we'll have championship points for you next week as part of the pre-race stuff, and also have them set up so we can track them live and to see who comes out at the end of the race. So Shane Randell on the mic. That's looking a little scruffy, and oh, we've had a couple of cars all having moments at the end of the lap. I think we might be finding a few people getting together, it seems. And that's not a good sign when Troy Stone Street coming in hot. Ooh. Oh no, but Mike Taliantich as well. Oh, Damien Cairns, the 3 or 4 actually.
That's not how you make courage. And Shane Randell, I don't think the WD-40 is going to fix that one up, but just a few guys just sort of tripping over each other. Mike Taliantich getting on the outside, and yeah, losing the car on the side, and then it's a compounding of errors. Damien Cairns comes in and slams into the back as well, and I think he cops in contact from behind too. So, mentioned before, one mistake and it can trip up a few guys behind you as well, and there's exhibit A of that. And Mike Taliancic in the box now with some damage. I'd imagine he is done for the night, which is a real disappointment. He was showing some promising signs early on. Meanwhile, up towards the front again, John Latham holding on to that P6. He's
taken
had
it
a pretty
away.
good drive. Sorry, he's taken it away from Michael Stewart, I believe. He's up 9 spots now, so pretty awesome drive from him so far. The reverse of what we were saying about the qualifying versus the race pace. Yeah, doing a fantastic job is Latham at the moment. And we'll see if he can hold on to that. There's only 4 laps to go, or 3 after this one, so not too long now before the guys will be crossing the line for that white flag, and when all hell might break loose to see what sort of positions you can gain towards the end.
Speaking of positions, Michael Whiting trying to get back, or get third off Luke Rundell here, but can't get the job done this time in a 10A 10B. Can he get the crossover at 10B? He tries. Inside opens up, but he had to park it up too much. He'll get to the rear axle of the 057 as they swing around 11 and 12 here at the end of lap 34. And Grundell hangs on for now, but only just here in this fight for the podium position to end off this race. And they keep this up. Matt Vanderkran potentially gets a sniff in, but also critically, John Latham is on an absolute tear in the background. He could potentially be an outside chance at a podium spot with, just under 3 laps to go. As it looks like there might be something happening further on back. Yeah, there is. Oh dear, big something indeed.
Yeah, Poynton and Nash got together on the front straight and both went in the fence, and then recovering, both made contact with each other again as well. Sorry, it just saw it out of the corner of my eye, my second feed there, but here we go, coming onto the front straight. It's a 66 on the outside, and they're going into one there. A little touch from behind, and they're all tripping over each other, and whack straight to the fence. Mark Poynton, that is not ideal for him, of course. David Nash being caught up in that too, and then look, they collect each other again on the way out. Here we go, on board with David Nash as well. So he's sort of boxed out here. Didn't take his foot out of it when he probably should have, just quietly, and that causes all hell to break loose.
Yeah, just can't get across to the inside of Mark Poynton when that happens. And as a result, just that bump in the back end, spear or unloads the 29, and unfortunately collects him as a result as well. So start of the penultimate lap now begins, and Matt Vanderkran's becoming a chance at third place, and it's bringing John Latham side by side. It's up through turn 3. They'll tag. Whiting's going to go around the outside through turn 4, and actually that's going to park Vanderkran here in behind Grundell. Was Whiting going to look at maybe giving this one back? I'm not entirely sure. He seems to have backed off a fraction, it seems, as they come down to the bottom of the S's. But here you go, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus, all the way back to P11 in the form of Chad Lewis there. Effectively all lined up as, Grundell wobble through turn 7 there, I think it is. Trying to get the power down on the back straight as Whiting now might just have secured P3. 4 on the road. Maybe he needs to be reviewed after the race, but Matt Vanderkran will try for P4 here, down the back straight at this penultimate race lap. Wow,
fantastic stuff there from everyone up and down in that position at the moment. Here we go, Vanderkran looking on the outside here of Luke Rundell, and gets it locked up. Loser John Latham ready to pounce, but he made a mistake himself as well, and they stay in those 2 positions. But look out behind as well. It's the 919 of Michael Stewart. Can he pick up some of the pieces there? No, he can't, not just yet. Barney's waved the white flag. Here we go. It's the last lap of the Michelin 150. Here we go. The boys are really going hammer and tong here for P3. P4 and P5, P6, P7. They all count. Matt Vanderkran leading that pack at the moment. We saw him just then get into a little bit of strife and lose some time on Luke Rundell in front. And this is the battle for 5th. Battle for 1st, meanwhile, Scotty Gamble out in front of Ken Latta as they're coming down the final back straight run. Very important corner is turn 9. You've got to set that pace up. Coming down the back straight, big overtaking opportunity here for Ken Latta if he has a run, which it looks like he does. How does he play this one? He's on the outside of Gamble. Gamble squeezing him all the way to the edge of the circuit. Ken Latta getting in front before the braking zone. While under braking though, Scotty
Oh,
Campbell...
no one gives up!
Defend him! Oh no! Scott Campbell goes around and Ken Latta goes through. That is an unfortunate way to finish that battle, but I mean, without seeing a replay, I think Ken Latta still had enough overlap maybe to warrant that space that he had on the inside. Meanwhile, Michael Whiting taking out the final podium spot. And look at that battle over the back there. That was for P5 and backwards. Fantastic stuff there. Van der Kraan taking that win for P5. I mean, win for that battle pack, I mean. John Latham just behind him as well. 1/10 behind. Michael Stewart, Christian Smart, all in that fight as well. Travis Hunt doing a nice little burnout across the line. And wow, that was a finish and a half, Dan.
Oh, man. Yeah, look, we're going to have to watch that back again. I think, committed to the outside of Scott Gamble. Tried to make it stick. And as a result, was a little slow through 10A. Whether that'll be deemed adequate through 10B to wrap that up, we'll have to see. 34 drivers finish on the lead lap with David Kirby, Sean McNamara there, and it looks like Mark Poynton, the only car still yet to get to the finish line there. I haven't heard anything from race control saying that result is in dispute at this time. I think that'll mean the race is all sorted as, just waiting on results to be declared official. It looks like, Delaney in the pits, Port and Tally haven't actually said so. I think we are good to call this one official here tonight, Dean. And as a result, let's now head to the race results from this one. Start trying to process that one there tonight. Also, start looking towards who we might actually also consider Chubby Buns Burgers driver of the day here in Split 1 time. We'll get to that replay in just a sec here, Dean, and then go to post-race after that.
Fantastic stuff. It's going to be a tricky one for driver of the day, but meanwhile, the actual results, Ken Latta, we saw taking the win there in that Fishy Motorsports outfit. Fantastic stuff from him. Maybe a little controversial finish, but I guess we'll see what happens there. He said the results pretty final, but I'm sure Scott's going to have something to say to the stewards post-race. And he takes out P2 for 9.5 Sim Sports. Michael Whiting, great drive from him to sneak up into that final podium spot for P3. Luke Crundell, we saw him up and down the order a fair bit. He's finished out P4. Matt Van der Kraan leading that big battle pack for P5. John Latham, P6. Michael Stewart, Christian Smart, Jeff Thomas and Chris Miller to round out the top 10, and that was that sort of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 battle pack down that we really loved to see. Coming in P11 was Chad Lewis for Evolution Sim Racing, Greg Sharp in P12. Darren Crosby, saw him up and down the order too, finishing P13. Dean Flavell, 14th. Stewie Hall with the Nova Sim Sports team, P15. Stephen Kennedy, Brad Noble, Travis Hunt, Stephen Varga and Jason Fewens to round out the top 20.
21st place here tonight is going to go at the line to David Nash in the 801 Sim Racing 911. Robbie Griffiths just been behind him in 22nd place, and right behind him too for good measure will be Craig Friend in 23rd with Hello Cesar in the number 5 machine. Not far, but again, this pack of cars. I mean, yes, we had a safety car with 14 to go, but it was tight up and down the order as a result. You see in behind Hello Cesar, Scott McCune, who over the radio exclaimed that it was an incredible relief to finally get through a race without internet issues, it seems, for him. At least the racing session anyways. Robert Christop right in behind. In the 808 machine, Darren Goosey not too far behind in the 186. Dan Hall, the Evolution Racing team, recovers to P28. Tim Nicol, 29th after being in the wars a couple of times, but crucially back on the lead lap with that wave around. And Troy Stone Street, speaking of, rounding out your top 30 here, Dean. And our last couple of cars that finished the race, down to 34th, Damien Cairns, Paul Burns, Shane Randell and Glenn Corbett in 31st to 34th respectively. I believe David Kirby did finish the race a lap down in 35th. Sean McNamara likewise in 36th. And then our retirees for tonight, Mark Poynton in 37th, 2 laps shy of the finish by Taliantich pulling out 5 laps from the finish in 38th. Blake Delaney, 23 laps shy of the race. And for Jamie McKnight, unfortunately, no laps recorded in what was hoping to be race start number 200 in the V8 Veterans.
Yeah, it's a shame for Jamie, but what a way to have your 200 start in the final round of the season coming up, I suppose. But man, what a race that was. I've ran out of breath. I think we're getting the replay of the final move. So got the two guys coming down side by side into the final corner. Jamble.
Yeah, we'll go on board with ladder for that one to try and get a better look at that one.
Yeah, so it looks like to me that Scott Gamble obviously got a lot deeper under braking than Michael Ladder, but see what it looks like from Ladder's view here. He's got the outside of 10A. Oh, that's going to be a tricky one.
Tricky indeed, but I reckon from that angle on board there, he was there enough. One more time, external shot perhaps real quick to see if we spot anything else different here. Zoom in and focus on them both here. So, it's not much, but I reckon he's there. And it's not a lot of overlap, but it's last lap fight to the end. Both these drivers looking to maximise their result. I think you'd be a bit foolish to leave that one or sort of give it up there in that case. So I think, in the case of Ken Ladder there, that's not to be not a surprise there that he fought that one the way he did.
Yep, definitely, and I think for his perspective, he was throwing everything but the kitchen sink at it tonight to get the win, so he can go and crack a cold one in celebration and really enjoy that victory because he's definitely earned it.
Well, speaking of earning it and enjoying that one there, it's time to start chatting to our drivers on the podium, and it looks like our first driver who will be here to have a chat is the man who comes across the line in second place tonight, joined now by Scott Gamble in the number 1 machine again. And Scott, fight to the end there with Ken. We thought that was going to be curious. What was your take of it there? Have you had a chance to have a look back at it since the race wrapped up?
Oh yeah, it was a good battle. It's disappointing for it to end that way because the way I seen it was he was out of position, he wasn't going to get it, and then just powered on through when there was contact anyway. But they'll see it and I'll get pinned for it because it's me as per normal. But that's all good, mate. We had a good fun battle, and as you know, it's hard to break the draft here at Road Atlanta. So it was a really good battle. 150 Ks, sure, bring it. It's much better than these 300 kilometre ones that we've been doing, or 250. So yeah, I much prefer the 150, 200 kilometres for vets.
It's quite a change up from what we've seen the past couple of weeks with 250 Imola, 300 at Spa, and even next week we wrap up the season 250 clicks around Sandown there as well. So getting back into that mindset of a long race, what will be the keys you think to setting yourself up for that one there to do as well as you can?
Yeah, look, Sandown's a good track. There'll be some fast guys there. I mean, obviously Kalianic, he's fast there. Macca, he's super fast there. Ken as well. So there'll be other guys step up that'll be really fast. Like I think Jeff will be there, and he'll be up around there. So I think there's a few guys, Lathan, that's really going to push it for us guys to go well. And I mean, at the end of the day, I think for me, I'm just going to try and circulate around that one. And if I get a top 10 finish, then that's it. Job done, mate, and be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, also it means the championship means we've got one final race to talk about that and how that'll play out. You came in strong tonight. I believe it was 74 points ahead by my numbers, 72 by my numbers going into tonight, and it was in comparison to Mike Whiting behind you. So that margin will have extended marginally again as a result, and it will mean you'd have to have an absolute stinker of a race next week for things to change in the championship situation.
Yeah, well, it's happened before, mate. I remember Virginia, last round, we were 3 laps in. Last race, couldn't drop it, and I dropped out. And so I actually rejoined the race, about 3 or 4 laps down, but completed 75%. So I got the points, got the championship that round. So it can happen. Anything can happen in the last round. But, the goal will be just to get around there and do the best we can and enjoy the racing. And it's been a long season, Dan, and I'm sure it has been for you guys there. So in the box and the booth, but yeah, I'm looking forward to having a break, mate, and getting away and enjoying spring and summer as it comes.
Indeed, yeah, we're not far away from another couple of weeks off before we'll presumably be back for the blast into summer to wrap up the year's racing. But to wrap up tonight with you, Scott, floor's all yours. Who do you want to thank for helping you get it done in the number one?
Yeah, it was really good to see Sean McNamara back in, having a race again. Obviously, he's been busy and unwell, but, he was absolute flying around here and he would have won this race hands down. So, yeah, really unfortunate for him dropping out. But to the people over at 9.5 that make it happen, big thank you to RaceKraft, Turner and April, RSW Graphics Racing is Prestige Cinematography. And, yeah, well done to the other podiums in Ken and Michael, fishy again. What can we say? They're always there. So, yeah, unfortunate for Macca. But, and to you guys, thanks for the broadcast. I'll watch it back later. And obviously, there'll be a few different takes of it, of the incident. But, I mean, at least it created some excitement, Dan. And, it was fun and no real loss by it anyway. And no hard feelings. So, yeah, bring on Sandown. Let's get it done.
Well, thanks for that, Scott. And, unfortunately, it sounds to be a bit of a mare for us up here as well, but in some respects. But we got there in the end at the very least. So looking forward to being back next week and looking forward to seeing how we can wrap up the season out on track.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Well, that's the first man to talk to from the podium there. Dean, it's up to you. Where do you want to go, to the top end of town with Ken Latter or Michael Whining in third place, as to how you want to take this one? Or shall I pick for you and we'll just roll with what I give you?
I'm itching to talk to Ken. I want to ask him the same question. Yeah, Scotty.
Oh.
So get Ken in here. Ken, well done, mate. Congratulations on taking out the race win. We've got to ask, mate, talk us through this final chicane on that last lap.
Well, I was coming into the braking area at the end of the straight there, and I was ahead of him in the braking, and I was a little bit tentative just to make sure, because I knew he was going to take the inside, just to make sure I could hold the outside line, which would give me the inside line for the next part of the chicane. And in my view, it felt like he sort of sacrificed the way he come into that corner to sort of give himself a position which sent him wide. And he wasn't, I guess he wasn't unable to keep his car off mine, and he got spun. So
very interesting stuff. Couple of differentiating opinions, of course, as you would expect.
I'm sure there probably would be. I had a look at it after race. I didn't feel like I was in the wrong, but I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I guess you'll find out what the stewards think. That's probably the opinion that matters the most, isn't it? But
yeah.
Moving away from the controversy, you're up 5 spots from where you started. Was there any sort of different strategies you were looking at going into the race, and then of course the safety cars probably threw a bit of a spanner in the works and maybe worked in your favour a little bit? Talk to us about how you managed to get your way up the field a little bit.
Yeah, just have the mindset of, because obviously I wasn't up near the lead there, but just trying to look after the tyres, and particularly in the opening laps. So I had something through the whole stint, which is probably the main thing. And I mean, I know that I wasn't in the draft there for a little bit, but towards the end of that first stint, we got back into the draft. So, obviously Scotty went an extra couple of laps after that, which brought him out behind me. And then when he actually overtook me a bit later on in the race, I just touched the grass a little bit on the outside and had to settle the car. So,
yeah. We did catch that on the broadcast, and there was a lot going on at the same time, so plenty happening up and down the order, which was good to see. Of course, the battle for the lead is the most exciting part, but before we let you go, Ken, race winner tonight, floor's yours, mate. Anyone you want to thank for the performance tonight?
Well done to Whiting. I know, he wish he could probably get onto this step as well, but... And well done to Scotty. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a good race, even though it probably didn't end quite the way he wanted it. And to you guys, the broadcast is always great, and all the guys at Fishy and Race Control, and our sponsors at West End Motor Group, Infinity Design, DC Shades, Battery Warehouse, Early Beach, Precision Sim Training. Thank you.
Well done, Ken. Congratulations once again on the win. Go and crack a cold one. Enjoy what's left of your evening, and we'll catch up with you next week, hopefully.
Yes, thank you.
And indeed, that does leave us with one last man. Oh, my bad there, Dean.
No, my bad.
You say you're bad. I say my bad. does leave us with one man left to chat to here tonight, and it's going to be second of our drivers from Fishy Motorsport who makes it onto the podium. Michael Whiting joins us once again, and had to fight for it there at the end, Michael, but onto the podium steps once again. Congratulations. How did that feel from the perspective of you here tonight?
That was a tough race. Grundle really drove really well, fought really hard for that position. He certainly didn't want to give it up, that's for sure. So we had to make a choice whether we send it or sit back and take fourth, and got an opportunity, so send it up the top of the hill, and it paid off.
Yeah, that was definitely an ambitious move, but worked out just perfectly for you. And if anything, it worked out even better because it put Luke that little bit out of rhythm and allowed you to sort of get a bit of breathing space there, given you only had less than 2 laps to go at that point. As he was then starting to really have to defend hard for fourth. But yeah, in the end of it, we're coming off the back of some long races before this one at Imola and Spa. We go back to a longer race at Sandown. Does the mindset change when it comes to race preparation with a short 150k event like this here tonight?
Yeah, more strategy with pit stops and things like that. When to take pit stops, how much fuel you're going to take on the first and second stop. Obviously, with the 2 mandatory stops, it sort of mixes it up a little bit on what people can and can't do with their strategy. But we sort of had an idea, depending on where we qualify. If you're sort of out the front, you run it long. Potentially, guys sort of mid-pack and down the back of the pack would sort of do an early stop to try and get out of traffic. So yeah, it does play a part, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, definitely interesting to watch that. As I said, the safety car did mix things up here tonight, I would say, given that we were watching everyone sort of stretch out that first stint and basically turn it around 2 or 3 laps later and bang it straight back into the lane. With a second safety car then coming also straight after that, did anyone... you didn't really have much time to sort of, figure it out, but did anyone look like they were maybe being conservative straight after the first restart, trying to manage their car a bit, and then the second safety car restart meant they could go flat out to the end, or really just too early to tell at that point, given how quickly they were back to back?
Look, I mean, there was a couple of guys there that were borderline on fuel, from our perspective anyway, but the second safety car obviously rectified that and stamped that out. So if it had gone green to the end, it would have been a very different story, I think, because a couple of guys were pretty borderline on not making it.
Yeah, well, interesting to note that one indeed. Yeah, fuel numbers around here, bit of an up in the air as to how it goes between race pace and qualifying trim, but yeah, good to get those insights from you, given you were fighting pretty much all race long. But one final race for this season next Thursday night at Sandown for 250 kilometres to wrap things up. Any thoughts on what that might look like for you, or positives, sort of strengths, negatives, and things you might be looking to work on in particular going into that race?
Qualify well is a big thing at Sandown. It's not a very easy track to pass at all. So yeah, you got to really put in the effort for qualifying next week. And then obviously just try and manage the race as best you can. We'll do a bit of race runs through the week and work out field strategies and what we can and can't do, and see if we can get in front of the 9.5 boys again. So yeah, there's a bit of prep to come for next week.
Well, look forward to seeing how it plays out on track then. Floor's all yours, Michael. Who do you want to thank for helping you get it done tonight in the 025?
All the guys at Fishy Motorsports, West End Motor Group, Battery Warehouse, Early Beach, DC Shades, Infinity Designs, yeah, and everyone that, you know, behind the scenes with vets, the guys that did broadcast and race control and admin and all that. If without them, we wouldn't be doing this stuff.
Indeed. Pleasure to be able to bring the action for you here, Michael. Thanks for talking with us, and look forward to seeing you out on track next week to wrap up the season.
Peace, guys.
Well, that concludes our podium interviews here, Dean, but that means we've got one person left that we need to actually speak to. And saying that, we've got to decide who it's going to be for the Chubby Buns Burgers Driver of the Day. And I'd say basically maybe a coin toss between John Latham charging home from 15th to 6th, or whether it's Chris Miller from 21st to 10th. Any particular picks there? I think will be probably our biggest shouts of the racing action here tonight.
Yeah, I reckon I'm going to have to go personally with John Latham. That was a fantastic drive. You know, like he got into a lot of action tonight. We got to call out a lot of his moves and things like that. So definitely takes the cake for me if I get the final, the deciding vote for the Chubby Buns Burgers Driver of the Day. Congrats, John Latham.
let me see if he's around. Maybe we can quickly chat to him here before we wrap this broadcast here tonight. Otherwise, what I will quickly also throw up as well is where we're going next. We did mention there with a couple of the broadcast or guys in the interview, but our final race of this 20th season of the RaceKraft V8 Veterans Championship is taking us back home, figuratively speaking, to the Sandown International Motor Raceway for 250 Ks of racing. I mean, yeah, if John's happy to be brought up, I think that sounds like a good idea to grab him in. Unfortunately, I sort of see just like blobs as to exactly who's in what channel. A little hard to see who's in. So if we can drag him, we can't drag him.
I can't drag him.
I might just tag and see if he's keen to come and have a chat with us here. But yeah, final race of the season, and as I was saying, it's going back to a longer race next week, Dean. 250 Ks, 81 laps next week. So as we've heard it from the drivers, it's going to be a bit of a tough one there tonight compared to what we had here tonight, for example, with the shorter race distance. What do you think we could perhaps see when it comes to the racing action from Sandown?
I think Sandown is one of those circuits that it's really easy to get wrong, especially on the way down to Dandenong Road. And of course, in these cars, if you're doing a longer stint for a longer race, the tyre wear and the fuel weight and things like that really shift the dynamic of how you've got to drive the car over the course of a stint. So I think we're in for some brave moves towards the end, but look to see, I reckon, at the start of the race, more so, just sort of managing, of course, your pace and your tyres and your fuel, but look for the gloves to come off in the second half towards the end. I think we're in for a big one. Of course, the final round as well, so lots to gain for some drivers and lots to lose for others, so that'll come into play as well. It'll be a big one. I'm pretty keen to either watch it or if I'm lucky enough to fill in again, maybe I'll even get to call it. So it'll be a fantastic race nonetheless.
Well, I think as much as I'd love to hang around for John, might still be just debriefing with teammates and focusing on that. So bring him back up on screen one more time. Yeah, up from 15th place starting position here tonight to 6th on the road. I think technically he does gain a spot from Travis Hunt, I think, having been instructed to do a pit lane start, which means he would have effectively been the 14th car on the grid. But nevertheless, it's at least up 8 places, if not all 9, here in the race. And a hard charger whilst keeping his nose neat and tidy. Definitely seems worthy of the Chubby Bunsburgers Driver of the Day award. Honourable mention in my mind once again goes to Chris Miller with similar kinds of gains, just not quite as many positions on the road as a result. But that's just about going to do us for tonight here, I have to say. Dean, thank you very much for being a part of the action for this 9th round of the RaceKraft Simulations V8 Veterans Championship here tonight. But we'll wrap it here for this one as well, and make sure we shout out all of the series partners that make it possible in the form of course, RaceKraft Simulations series title sponsor, along with Player One Sim Gear, Nova Sim Sports, Logitech G, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, Chubby Buns Burgers for the Driver of the Day award, and new for season 20, but certainly great to have them supporting the Australian community at large, SimSpeed. Well, any final notes from you, Dean, before we wrap up here for tonight?
Can we do that again? That was so much fun. Really great racing from the boys up and down the grid, of course. Awesome fight for the win, but I just can't wait to either watch or, if I get the opportunity again, call next week. And thanks very much for having me, Dan. Much appreciated, and it's such a good time commentating the veterans weekly. I'm sure it is for you.
I mean, yeah, my job is technically meant to be production, but compress me into commentary service at times, depending on what's up. Unfortunately, things a little bit scruffy on this side, but we'll certainly be fresh and regular. It's a busy weekend for us at SimSpeed here with you, because you can start the weekend early in a sense with the V8 Veterans on the Thursday night. V8 Scops is back this weekend. Support categories on Saturday night, mind you, because myself and Jay are assisting with the Motorsport Australia Esports FIA Motorsport Games live qualifier at Fortress Melbourne tomorrow night, which is determining a driver from Assetto Corsa Competizione and iRacing to represent Australia at the FIA Motorsport Games in Valencia, Spain in October. So then it's back-to-back Scop support Saturday night, V8 Scops from Road America both on Sunday night, and there's pre-qualifying already going on as well. So yeah, it's a pretty hectic weekend for us on that front. But it's great to have you in here, Dean. We might be having our regular planned commentators of Scott Rankin and Thomas Ince back next Thursday, so I might have to relegate you to the spectator's armchair, but that will hopefully be a joy all the same. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you to everyone for watching along with us here live or on replay after the fact on YouTube. My name is Danny Yeaman. Hope you have yourselves a good Thursday night, or whenever it is you might be, you watch this back. Congrats to Ken Latta there, despite that one being a little controversial. It is under review from Race Control, just to be sure, but I believe it should probably stand unless there's something we're missing from these angles. But until next Thursday, or whenever you join us once again on SimSpeed, we hope to have you back for another one of our iRacing broadcasts. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next time we're live.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.